As you guys know, last year one of the biggest debates we had all season long was who was better, Joel Embiid or Nikola Jokic, and who was the MVP for the 2023 season. And really the entire year, there were different narratives in various directions from the media, fans, and even players themselves. And I would say the biggest narrative pusher was of course Kendrick Perkins, who in one way or another swayed the MVP in Joel's favor.
You chose poorly.
Now, since picking Embiid to win the MVP, Perkins after that admitted he was wrong and made the wrong choice. Some might give Perkins a little bit of credit for admitting he was wrong. Me, I give him none. Because after last year's playoffs, even a blind man could admit Nikola Jokic was the better overall player. I mean, one guy won the championship, the other guy with a 3-2 lead in the second round. Not that hard to admit one guy was vastly superior. And again, why I give Perkins zero credit for admitting he was wrong is because this week he comes out of the woodwork saying Embiid yet again is the best player in the world and the MVP.
The best, and here's the best. Not the best of the Eastern Conference, the best player in the Eastern Conference, but the best player in the league, Joel Embiid.
Joel being the MVP, not that crazy. But the best player in the world, I mean, please stop. On one hand, you gotta admire Perkins being so determined, so in Joel's corner, he'll defend him against all odds. But on the other hand, it's kinda weird, perverse, and even strange how much he'll defend Embiid even in the face of cold hard facts. As when it comes to the best players in the world, guys like Jokic and Giannis, they have that one championship in their back pocket. For Joel, not making the East Finals at this point in his career is a downright travesty. And when your last playoff moment is scoring 15 points in a Game 7 in the Boston Garden, getting blown out, abused by Tatum, those images, that game, is seared into NBA fans' minds. And using a 25-30 game sample size of the regular season to try to wash away all that failure simply isn't going to fly for the majority of NBA fans. And one more thing I do want to add in there, the fact Jokic and Giannis, I would say the two best players in the world, get better in the playoffs is something Joel Embiid has never done. And until he gets that elusive championship, makes the finals, heck, even the East Finals, Embiid never is going to get his due credit that he thinks he deserves. And to kind of prove my point even further of how much more the playoffs actually matter, look at Jokic. I mean, he's averaging 26, 12, and 9 on 55% shooting. For Jokic standards, pretty meh and even pedestrian. The thing is though, with Jokic having that championship just last year, any failures he has in the regular season will be downplayed and even dismissed, because Jokic is an NBA champion and a proven playoff guy. And for someone like Embiid, despite averaging 35, 12, and 6 on 54% shooting, despite all that, nobody is going to say Embiid is better than Jokic because of the playoffs. And when I see Embiid averaging 35 points, putting up these crazy numbers, on one hand, it is highly impressive and even historic. On the other, it makes me think come playoff time, the overall drop-off is going to be even bigger. I mean, last year, he went from 33 points down to 23. This year, it could go from 35 to around 24, 25, which still would be the biggest drop-off ever if he wins MVP. And one big critique of Embiid and Philadelphia as a team is that versus the bottom-feeding teams, the struggling teams, they're dominant and simply imposing. But versus even decent teams, above-average teams, and the best teams, they're just okay, even subpar. As looking at this year so far, with strength of schedule, they rank 26. Versus bottom-feeding teams are 14-1, and versus the top teams, 6-8. And of course, as you guys know, come playoff time, the majority of teams you're playing are above 500. So Philadelphia struggling versus those teams, Embiid struggling versus those teams, is a pretty big sign of concern. And when it comes to winning MVP, look, Joel can average 35, 40 points, put up 60 bombs every day of the week. But until he does that in the playoffs, really, nobody's going to care.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you
We don't care.
And look, when it comes to respective NBA fans, I doubt Embiid really cares, but the majority of fans aren't going to give this guy respect when he keeps ducking players and ducking certain teams. Of course, last year ducking Jokic in a pivotal matchup, and this year on Christmas, skipping out on the Heat and Jimmy Buckets. If you're one of the marquee players, superstars, MVP guys, some say best in the world, you're not ducking anyone, and especially the top tier playoff guys. And as much as I want Joel to win a championship, make the finals, things like that hold me back from 100% confident in him and his overall ability, compared to someone like Jokic in Denver, where I'm all in on them going back to the finals and possibly winning the championship. The biggest point from this video is pretty simple. The NBA regular season does matter and has some significance. And of course, winning MVPs, they do matter. But if you want to make your name, make your legacy, you have to do it in the NBA playoffs. Because ultimately, that's what fans, players, media members, and coaches remember. That's why someone like Perkins, declaring Embiid the best player in the world after last year's playoffs, it is pretty baffling. As 25 games in versus majority bad teams, Embiid putting up good numbers, while impressive, doesn't sway me in the debate with him or Jokic. And looking at that overall narrative of Embiid being a bottom-feeding team hunter, there is some actual truth to that statement and that overall narrative. As looking at this year, Embiid versus 9 different teams averaging above 35 points per game. Out of those 9 teams, 7 of the 9 are below 500. That includes the Hornets, the Hawks twice, the Pistons 3 times, and the Wizards also 3 times. I don't know if you call it stat padding bad team hunting, but Embiid putting up gaudy numbers versus bad teams is a simple fact. And to add insult to injury, Embiid's worst scoring games come versus Boston and Milwaukee, where in both matchups he's below 25 points per game. Calling Embiid Pistons man, Wizards man, that overall narrative is funny, but also kind of true. And to be fair to Embiid fans, Philadelphia fans, I want to look at Jokic and his breakdown versus the top teams and the worst teams. And looking at his top 10 highest scoring matchups, here's what I found. Out of that top 10, 7 of the 10 are versus teams above 500, which compared to Embiid is the total inverse and complete opposite. As great as Philadelphia has been, as good as Embiid's been, when it comes to the NBA playoffs, I'm rolling with Jokic in Denver 24/7, 365. As playoff basketball, as you guys know, is completely different than the regular season. And let's not forget, when it comes to the NBA playoffs, where it actually matters most, Nikola Jokic definitively is better than Embiid. As since 2021, comparing the two players, Jokic averaged more points, rebounds, assists, shoots better from the field, and better from 3. Has more 30-point games, 40-point games, total wins, triple-doubles, double-doubles, championships, and finals appearances. I don't think any player debate is more open and shut than Embiid versus Jokic. And for someone like Kendrick Perkins, use a 25-game sample size, a non-playoff sample size, to say Embiid's better is downright foolish. So, as always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.